Hey everyone, today I want to go over my experience with the Relic First Guardian. I was lucky enough to go hands-on with this game for a total of 8 hours, and I kind of just want to share my thoughts on the experience and explain what I liked and disliked about the game so far. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Relic First Guardian, it's an upcoming Soulslike that's releasing in July 31st to be exact. Is developed by Project Cloud Games, and it kind of has a dark fantasy aesthetic. Now, I went into this game not really knowing what to expect because the developers haven't really showed much gameplay outside of trailers that are like super cinematic. So I was very curious to see how it played, what would the progression systems like, how the bosses were, and all that good stuff. I was also very curious to see if it had any unique features or aspects that would help it stack up to the competition this year. I mean, we have Mortal Shell 2, Valor Mortis, and the Dustbloods all looking to launch this year. Plus, we have Lords of the Fallen 2 coming in early 2027, so the competition is definitely fierce. After spending around 8 hours with the game, I think I finally have an answer. The Relic First Guardian is a Souls-like that understands the foundation of the genre, but it isn't afraid to experiment with its own ideas. It offers a different approach to character progression, rewards exploration in meaningful ways, and gives players a lot of freedom when creating their builds. Now, I still need to see more of the game before knowing whether it can truly compete with the best Souls-likes out there, but based on my hands-on experience, I think it has the potential to surprise people. So let's talk about why the Relic First Guardian is a Souls-like worth keeping an eye on, and the concerns that could hold it back. So my preview started right at the beginning of the game, which was honestly the right decision. The developers at Project Cloud Games wanted players to experience the opening hours as intended, rather than dropping us into a random section of the game with a fully upgraded character. Because of this, I was able to understand the game's progression system and how the combat gradually opens up. At the start, you play as a sword and shield warrior equipped with fire magic. However, you don't have access to powerful weapon skills or many useful resources. As I explored the first area, I eventually discovered an item that functions close to the healing flask found in other Souls-like games. These healing charges are limited and can only be restored by resting at checkpoints. So that's like your typical Souls-like foundation right there. But what really caught my attention was the game's skill system. While exploring an optional cave, I discovered a mysterious altar glowing with a blue light. Interacting with it rewarded me with ancient relic energy, a resource used to unlock abilities and upgrades throughout the game's skill trees. These altars are one of the biggest reasons to explore off the main path because they directly make your character stronger. Each weapon type has its own skill tree filled with new abilities and character upgrades. Want more health, more stamina, stronger attacks? You can invest in those areas and shape your character around your preferred playstyle. At first, you have to unlock weapon skills before reaching some of the stronger passive upgrades, but once you start unlocking more abilities, the combat becomes much more interesting. For example, one two-handed ability called Cataclysm Thunder allowed me to launch into the air and slam down onto multiple enemies, dealing massive damage and clearing groups quickly. These abilities are really the foundation of combat in the Relic First Guardian, and they provide a lot of potential for different builds. Instead of the typical Souls-like system where you constantly level up stats and spend points, the Relic takes a different approach. There is no traditional leveling system. Instead, your character grows stronger by upgrading weapons, finding better armor, unlocking skills, and interacting with characters throughout the world. During my journey, I met a priest who offered to increase my maximum health in exchange for gold. This is just one of the many examples of unique ways for character progression. Small moments like this make progression feel more connected to the world rather than just another menu screen. The Relic First Guardian describes itself as a semi-open world game, and after playing it, I think that description fits it perfectly. The area I explored wasn't anywhere near the size of something like Elden Ring's massive world, but it was still large enough to encourage exploration. Throughout the world, you'll find NPCs who provide optional quests called events. These events usually involve traveling to a location, defeating enemies, finding an item, or completing a specific objective before returning for a reward. While they aren't the most complex side quests you'll ever experience, they are worth completing because the rewards are consistently valuable. You might receive upgrade materials, useful consumables, new quests, or items that help strengthen your character. One thing I appreciate about the Relic First Guardian is that it respects the player's time. Exploring doesn't feel like busy work because there is almost always something worthwhile waiting for you at the end. Events can also be discovered naturally while exploring. For example, you may come across a glowing blue object hidden somewhere in the environment. Interacting with it activates a trail of similar objects that leads you towards a specific location. As you follow the trail, the game slowly reveals the story behind that event through fully voiced messages. I found this to be a creative way to present lore because these events essentially act like mini stories with a beginning, middle, and a conclusion. And the best part is that these trails almost always lead to something meaningful. You might discover a hidden boss fight, a new weapon, a powerful upgrade material, or an item that unlocks a previously sealed area. The Relic the First Guardian does a great job of making exploration feel rewarding. Even outside of events, there are plenty of reasons to search every corner of the map. For example, if I ignored exploration, I would have missed hidden caves containing ancient relic energy, secret areas with new weapons, and other valuable upgrades. In other words, my character would be significantly weaker. Those discoveries made me curious about what else there is to find in the full game. A Soulslike lives or dies by its boss encounters, so let's talk about them. Unfortunately, while the Relic First Guardian has some impressive looking bosses, their actual designs are where I have my biggest concerns. There are two main issues: the camera and the boss patterns themselves. First, the camera. Now I want to make it clear that this was a preview build and the game still has some time before launch, so hopefully this is something Project Cloud Games can improve. However, during some boss fights, the camera became a serious problem. There were moments where I was pushed against a wall, my view was completely blocked, and I couldn't properly react because I couldn't see what the boss was doing. Several deaths during my playthrough came from these situations, and it was incredibly frustrating. A bad camera can completely ruin an otherwise great boss fight, so this is something I hope gets addressed before release. Otherwise, if they don't fix it, I can see a lot of players dropping this game. However, my bigger concern is the actual boss design. Some encounters felt overly aggressive and unpredictable. Instead of creating that familiar Souls-like rhythm where you can learn attack patterns, find openings, and slowly master the fight, some bosses in the Relic First Guardian felt way too chaotic. Their attacks didn't always have clear tells, making it difficult to understand when to dodge, parry, or punish. And a great Souls-like boss fight has to feel like a dance. The best parts about Souls-like bosses is that you go into a fight with no experience, then you learn the rhythm, you recognize the openings, and you improve with every attempt. Some bosses in the Relic First Guardian didn't quite capture that feeling. That being said, not every boss had this issue. There were several encounters that actually showcased the potential of the game's combat. Those fights had better pacing, clearer openings, and were genuinely enjoyable. Because of that, I do think Project Cloud Games understands what makes a good Souls-like boss fight. I'm just hoping the weaker encounters I experienced here are limited to the earlier portions of the game. However, despite my concerns with some of the bosses, I walked away from my time with the Relic First Guardian feeling surprisingly optimistic. The game offers rewarding exploration, a unique approach to character progression, and a combat system with a lot of build potential. The biggest question is whether the full game can maintain that quality throughout the entire adventure. But based on my 8 hours with it, I'm excited to see more. I'm already looking forward to jumping back in, refining my build, unlocking more abilities, and discovering just how very powerful my character can become. The Souls-like genre is more competitive than ever, but the Relic First Guardian might have enough unique ideas to carve out its own place. But I'm interested to see what you guys think. Do you think it looks great? Do you think it just looks alright? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have the time, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Not me!